クイッククイックラジオ大阪いざ一新
Obi's Daily Radio Osaka!
Hi everyone, welcome to Obi's Daily Radio Osaka. I'm Haru.
And I'm Obi. Today we are reshaping the day around stories that help you live in Kansai, not just pass through it.
We start with rainy season in the Kinki region and the new disaster weather information that matters when alerts arrive in Japanese.
So this is the useful kind of weather talk. Not just bring an umbrella, but know what your phone is telling you.
Then we meet Anri, a 4th grade whistler from Osaka's Minato ward, before heading to Kagoshima and Hiroshima for sand baths, mud packs, and local sweets.
That is a travel lineup I can understand. Hot sand, regional snacks, and at least one story where somebody becomes too relaxed to function.
After that, we move into Mamiko Wada's Health Reset, a Kintetsu Hinotori family trip to Legoland, Japan, and a listener question about being called kun.
Weather alerts, world-class whistling, snacks, walking, trains, and the emotional politics of what people call you. Very local, very human.
That is the value of local radio. It catches the systems, habits, and tiny social signals that shape daily life here. Let's begin with rainy season. Rainy season in Kansai is not only umbrella season. This year, the broadcast treated it as evacuation vocabulary season, too.
That phrase makes me sit up. What happened?
The host said the Japan Meteorological Agency had announced just after the previous Thursday's show that the Kinki region appeared to have entered rainy season.
Appeared to have entered? Sounds cautious. Like meteorology is choosing its words very carefully.
It is cautious. They explain that rainy season dates are judged from forecasts and patterns, not one exact rainfall switch. Later, official dates can be revised by 3 or 4 weeks.
So if the date changes later, that is not indecision, that is weather science with an edit button.
In Benten-cho, during the 11 o'clock segment, it was not raining yet, but rain was forecast for the evening. One host had already brought a folding umbrella.
That is a very Kansai commuter image. No rain yet, but the tiny umbrella is ready to judge the sky.
Then, the important part. A weather forecaster cast member explained that Japan's disaster weather information changed around the end of May.
Give me the plain English version, because alerts are hard enough even in your first language.
The old heavy rain warning system separated landslide risk from inundation risk in a way that could be confusing. Under the new system, landslide risk is a landslide warning, and inundation risk remains a heavy rain warning.
In an emergency, the alert should sound like the danger. That feels like a very good design principle.
They also said the old flood warning name was abolished and replaced with river-specific flood information, so you may hear warning language tied to a particular river.
That matters in Kansai, where rivers and low-lying neighborhoods are everyday geography, not trivia.
The segment explained the 5 levels too. Level 3 and Level 4 are the stages by which evacuation should be completed. Level 5 means something has already happened or is happening.
That is the line to remember. Level 5 is not a dramatic suggestion. It is already bad.
And if outdoor evacuation is already unsafe, like when water is around an adult's knees, the broadcast said vertical evacuation to a higher floor may be the safer choice.
That is useful for foreign residents. Evacuation does not always mean go outside and start moving.
The broadcast even added a Kansai aside about Lake Biwa being legally treated as part of the Yodo River system, with the Lake Biwa Canal becoming a Kyoto and Shiga talking point.
I respect any weather segment that can make drainage law sound like neighborhood gossip.
The takeaway is simple. During rainy season, the wording matters. Learn the alert terms before the alert arrives, because the calm moment is when the words are easiest to understand. A fourth grader walked into the Radio Osaka studio and whistled so beautifully that the hosts compared it to birds in the mountains.
That is not a sentence I expected today, and I am delighted!
Her name is Anri. The broadcast introduced her as a fourth grader at Misaki Elementary School in Osaka's Minato ward, appearing with her father.
How serious is this whistling? Cute school talent show or actual competition level?
Actual competition level. The broadcast said she was ranked 5th in the world in the junior whistling division. She performed the Prelude to Carmen as a short self-introduction.
5th in the world in 4th grade. Respectfully, I need to reorganize my whole sense of achievement.
Her father said she began whistling at age 3. He also said her late mother loved whistling, and after her mother died several years ago, whistling songs her mother liked became part of Anri's daily life.
That turns it from a cute talent story into a family memory carried in sound.
The segment handled that gently. It did not make the story heavy, but you could understand why whistling mattered to the family.
Was there someone who inspired her to compete?
Her father mentioned seeing a live performance by world champion whistler Takumi Gima-san. That seems to have opened a door. Anri now practices about 10 to 20 minutes every day and tries to value each note.
Value each note is such a musician sentence. Also, daily practice sounds tiny until you actually try doing it every day.
The broadcast said she was preparing for a world whistling competition in Kanagawa on June 21st, where she expected to meet a reigning child division champion from India.
A tiny international whistling showdown! This is more dramatic than many sports documentaries.
Her planned pieces were Jonetsu Tairiko and the Prelude to Carmen. After one performance, the host said the studio felt as if it had opened into a forest.
That is the power of audio. You cannot see the room, but radio still lets you imagine it changing.
Anri's dream was simple: to become a whistler who gives people energy. For a local Osaka story, that is a lovely goal. And honestly, it already sounds true. Now, let's shift from weather and music to travel, because the broadcast had a wonderfully local trip report from Chiki Chiki Johnny.
Oh, I heard Kagoshima, Hiroshima, sand baths, mud packs, and snacks. That is not a segment, that is a full itinerary.
Pretty much. They said they had been in Osaka until the previous Tuesday, then moved through Kagoshima and Hiroshima, covering roughly 2,000 kilometers.
2,000 kilometers is a lot of movement for people who still had enough energy to describe sweets in detail.
The first big stop was Ibusuki in Kagoshima, famous for sand baths. Visitors wear yukata and are buried in warm sand heated by the hot spring area.
Okay, I need to ask the obvious question. Are you relaxing or are you being lightly turned into a human croquette?
Both images are not completely wrong, but the broadcast treated it as a proper hot spring experience. The natural seaside area was described as strict about photography, so the privacy side was clear too.
I actually like that. Japan will give you a surreal experience, but
with a very specific rule posted somewhere.
The comedy was in the details. One member got a leg cramp under the sand after trying to move her face because a fly came near. Another thought the sand was moving, then realized it was her own pulse.
That is the moment you discover your body has special effects.
They also talked about Mami Iwami booking the inn only the day before. The group joked about calling her Jalin Iwami because she somehow found a place with hot springs, good food, and a great location.
Every friend group needs that person. The one who says, "Do not worry, I found the perfect inn," and somehow they actually did.
Then the trip moved into Kirishima. They described a natural mud pack experience at Sakura Onsen, and one guest accidentally mistook a mud-covered foreign woman for a statue.
Oh no. That is exactly the kind of sentence where you immediately want the ground, or maybe the mud, to swallow you.
Luckily, the woman laughed it off. The story became less about embarrassment and more about how travel gives you these odd little memories that survive longer than the schedule.
And then, as all good Japanese travel stories must, we arrive at the souvenir table.
Exactly. They introduced Hassaku Daifuku from Mochigashi no Kashihara in Hiroshima. It was described as a popular sweet with Hassaku citrus, white bean paste, and mochi, often worth buying in the morning before it sells out.
That is one of those station souvenir lessons residents learn by listening. Not just what is famous, but when to buy it.
From Kagoshima, they tasted Kasutadon from Satsuma Jokia, a soft sponge cake with custard cream recommended earlier by a listener. They also mentioned Festivalo's lovely sweet potato cake as a favorite, though they did not bring it this time.
Listener-recommended sweets becoming a studio tasting is exactly the community loop I love in local radio.
There was also a local bread they called kakuage pan, described in the broadcast as toast with onko inside and then fried again. Since the exact official name was not confirmed, we should treat it as the way they described it on air.
Toast, red bean paste, and then frying it again. I do not need the paperwork. I understand the emotional concept.
For English-speaking residents, the useful part is the pattern. Regional travel in Japan often means hot springs, station suites, local bread, and recommendations passed person to person.
Oh, and the best stories are not always the landmark. Sometimes they're the snack you bought at the station or the mud pack moment you will never live down.
That is why this topic works in English. It is not a tourist brochure. It is how Kansai people talk after a trip. What happened, what was embarrassing, and what everyone should try next time. The most Osaka fitness plan of the day was simple. Get off the train one station early and walk from Kujo to Benten-cho.
Extremely practical and personally threatening.
Mamiko Wada-san said she had started walking after a May health check flagged that she was beginning to accumulate visceral fat. She normally gets off at Benten-cho, but now she gets off one stop earlier at Kujo on the Osaka Metro Chuo line.
I like that because it does not require becoming a new person by Tuesday. It is just one station.
Exactly. Wada-san said running and exercise are not her favorite things, so walking felt like the realistic entry point.
I respect a health plan that begins with knowing yourself and not panic buying neon shoes.
Then it got very current. She asked ChatGPT for advice as a 48-year-old woman with visceral fat concerns and sent a photo of her health check numbers after hiding personal information.
The advanced technology reviewed the situation and sent her back to exercise. Brutal, but fair.
To be clear, the segment was not medical advice.
It was more like a relatable studio conversation about what actually makes people change habits.
And the other people in the studio had their own health check stories too?
Yes, Minagawa-san said a slightly high uric acid number years earlier helped push him to cut back on alcohol and eventually stop drinking. Tajiri-san said he still goes to the gym about once a week, but some filming work is harder than the gym, including cycling about 70 kilometers in Shizuoka.
70 kilometers for work. At that point, the gym is just a waiting room with dumbbells.
They also talked about how comments like, "you lost weight," can land differently depending on the person. Sometimes it motivates, and sometimes it feels intrusive.
That is a good point. Body comments can sound friendly, but you never fully know what someone is carrying.
Then the studio got funny again. Minagawa-san demonstrated wall push-ups on the Radio Osaka studio glass and left handprints, while the conversation wandered through Billy's boot camp, TRF, Dance Dance Revolution, and a joking beginner-friendly Hajiri's boot camp.
I would join if the first exercise is standing up from the sofa while negotiating with yourself.
That is probably lesson 1. The useful part is that a health reset does not have to be dramatic. Here, it starts with one station, one walk, and a habit you can actually repeat. A 5-year-old went to Legoland, Japan, got behind the wheel of a tiny car, and became too cool to wave at his parents.
Incredible! The child entered his commuter era.
This was Tsuyoshi Hamasaki-san talking about taking his 5-year-old son from Nara to Legoland, Japan in Nagoya. His son loves Lego. First building from the instructions, then customizing cars and testing which ones run farther or survive crashes better.
That is engineering with just enough chaos to keep it honest.
Because Hamasaki-san lives in Nara and uses Kintetsu, the family paired the park with a ride on the Kintetsu Limited Express Hinotori. They left around 8 in the morning and reached Legoland around 11.
So the train was part of the attraction, not just transportation.
Exactly. He said Hinotori had very little shaking, and its shell-style seats let passengers recline without disturbing the person behind them.
That seat detail is so Japanese, in the best way. Comfort plus social guilt reduction.
The hosts compared the smaller Osaka Lego facility near ATC and Osaka Aquarium Kaiyukan with Nagoya's larger Legoland Japan, which they described as more amusement park scale.
That is useful for families living here. A play facility and a full day trip destination are very different promises.
The highlight was junior driving school, a ride for children aged 3 to 5. Kids press an accelerator and steer a small car themselves.
A 3 to 5 driving school is either adorable or a warning from the future.
Hamasaki-san said his son tried to act cool and understated, but clearly could not hide his excitement in the waiting area. Once driving, he avoided stopped cars skillfully and did not even wave to his parents.
Safety first, emotional availability second.
There was also a boat attraction. The queue had levee bricks for children to play with, but when the line curved out of sight, staff briefly treated the child as lost and asked his name.
Enter the queue, receive bricks, briefly become a missing person case, then continue to boating.
The boat steering was harder than the car because the wheel kept turning and did not stop like a car wheel. For families in Kansai, the story quietly says that Nagoya can be a day trip, and the ride there can become part of the memory. Our last topic is a language question that sounds small, but if you live in Japan, it can feel surprisingly personal.
This is the kun question, right? When someone calls you with kun and suddenly the room temperature changes.
Yes, in the Choi Poji Advice Corner, a 66-year-old listener from Higashi Osaka wrote in, He said he uses polite language and san for people older than him, but recently younger people have called him with kun.
He wondered if he was being too sensitive for feeling uncomfortable.
Sakiko Katayama, a former Kansai TV announcer and positive communication coach, said she did not think he was being too fussy. Names and honorifics show relationship, distance, setting, and values.
That explanation helps. In English, we have first names, last names, titles, and nicknames, but Japanese honorifics carry a lot more social information in a tiny syllable.
Exactly. Katayama also said you cannot simply say kun is always rude and san is always correct. Age, workplace culture, group culture, closeness, and the public or private setting all matter.
So the answer is context. The most useful and most annoying answer in all human communication.
Takao Fujikawa said that in the current social climate, he basically uses san for everyone, older or younger. That is a very practical default if you do not know the relationship yet.
Which is probably good advice for non-native speakers too. Start respectful, then let the relationship teach you if something warmer is okay.
Katayama shared her own mistake from early in her career. She once called a same-age male colleague kun, intending friendliness, but he told her it felt like she was looking down on him.
That is a generous story to tell on air because it admits the hard part. Your intention and the listener's feeling can be different.
Right. She said that since then, in workplace contexts, she tends to use san even for younger men. Not because warmth is bad, but because a respectful default prevents unnecessary hurt.
So this is not grammar class. This is social weather forecasting.
It really is. The segment also looked at media workplaces where nicknames and casual forms used to be common. They noted that expectations have changed over time, especially in public or professional settings.
I like that they did not pretend there is one eternal rule. A newsroom, a comedy agency, a family restaurant, and a city office may all feel different.
They also introduced the name-calling effect. People often feel seen when their name is remembered and used well, but that only works if the name or form of address feels respectful.
Remembering my name is nice. Using it in a way that shrinks me is not nice. That distinction is the whole segment.
For the listener, Katayama suggested an I message. Instead of accusing the other person, he could calmly say, I feel more comfortable and happy when you call me with san.
That is useful in any language. Say what helps you without turning the other person into the villain immediately.
For English-speaking residents, the takeaway is simple. San is usually the safer starting point, but the deeper skill is noticing the relationship, the setting, and how the other person wants to be addressed.
And if you are unsure, ask. That one small question can save a lot of awkwardness later.
Exactly. A name is not just a label. In Japanese, it can be a tiny map of respect, closeness, and distance. Learning to read that map is part of living here. That brings us to the end of today's English Digest.
Rainy season alerts, Anri's whistling, Kagoshima and Hiroshima travel stories, Mamiko Wada's health reset, a Hinotori ride to Legoland Japan, and the delicate art of being called kun.
What I liked today is that every topic was practical in a different way. Weather alerts help you stay safe, local trips teach you what people actually recommend, and forms of address help you avoid quiet social friction.
This was Obi. Thanks for spending part of your day with us.
And Haru, take care in the rainy season, listen for the small signals around you, and we will be back next time with more stories from Osaka and Kansai.